A simple woman was kicked off the graduation stage for dressing too plainly. Can you imagine the humiliation? A nameless white cotton dress, worn-out ballet flats, and a loosely tied ponytail enough to make a room full of diamonds turn and stare. "Sorry, you're not on the speaker list." "Please step down," said the event organizer into a silence sharp as glass. No one questioned why Elise Carter, St. Morel's top student, had been cut from her moment of recognition. Only whispered mockery echoed across the seats.
Oh.
Didn't know janitors' daughters dreamed of sharing a stage with legacies. She stepped down, 1 foot at a time, past eyes dripping with judgment. But wait, what happens when her billionaire fiancé bursts through the doors? Stay tuned to Thread Tales to find out. Royal Lancaster Hall was a cathedral of privilege, its crystal chandeliers casting prisms of light across gilded walls and velvet-draped tables. The air was thick with the scent of orchids and wealth. Every guest, a glittering testament to power. St. Morel Academy's graduation ceremony was no mere event. It was a coronation for the heirs of Forbes-listed dynasties. Diamond earrings sparkled on every lobe, bespoke suits rustled with each movement, and the clink of champagne flutes was a symphony of exclusivity. The students, clad in silk-lined caps and gowns, sat in rows of polished mahogany chairs there, futures already etched in gold. Outside, a live-stream screen broadcast the ceremony to those who couldn't afford the $5,000 guest tickets. And among them stood Maria Carter, Elise's mother, her hospital janitor's scrubs hidden beneath a borrowed coat, her eyes fixed on her daughter's image. Elise walked in, her white cotton dress, a quiet rebellion against the opulence. At 22, she was striking not in the polished way of her peers, but in the raw beauty of someone who'd earned every inch of her presence. Her dark hair tied back, in a low ponytail, framed a face with high cheekbones and hazel eyes that held both warmth and resolve. Her faded ballet flats whispered against the marble floor, her step steady despite the weight of 1,000 stairs. She was the scholarship student, raised by a single mother who mopped hospital floors to pay their rent. Brilliant, relentless she'd clawed her way to the top of St. Morel's ranks, only to be judged for the sin of poverty, her mother's. Absence in the hall was a wound she carried silently. Knowing Maria was watching from the cold street outside, as Elise took her seat, Elise unleashed a digital guillotine. Phones glowed, students typing furiously, their social media posts a public crucifixion. #charity case crashes, one captioned, zooming in on Elise's faded flats. Another posted, St. Morel's biggest mistake, letting a cleaner's kid. In the live stream chat exploded with venom. She's a fraud. Kick her out. A girl in a sapphire gown, Sophia Lyell, stood, her voice loud enough for Maria to hear outside. Check X, her dress is trending as the worst fashion crime of the year. The hall laughed, a vicious chorus, their phones a weapon aimed at Elise's heart. Can you believe the cruelty? Don't miss what happens next on Thread Tales. She sat still, her hazel eyes fixed forward, but her fingers brushed her plaque, a faint tremor betraying her calm. Maria's face on the live stream was a mask of pain. Each post, a dagger to her pride. The audience's rage boiled, their fury at the mob's cruelty, a fire waiting to erupt. A hulking senior, Ethan Caldwell, heir to a tech fortune, stood from his seat, his broad frame casting a shadow over Elise. "You're taking up space that doesn't belong to you," he growled, his voice booming across the diamond section. He stepped closer, his loafers thudding on the marble, his Rolex glinting as he pointed at her. "That dress is an insult to this hall. Get out before we make you." The crowd hushed, sensing a threat, their phones raised to capture the moment. Ethan leaned in, his breath hot with champagne, his finger inches from Elise's face. "Your mom scrubs floors for people like us? Know your place?" A few students cheered, their voices sharp, egging him on. Les's hands remained folded, her hazel eyes meeting his, steady but with a pulse visible at her throat. The tension was a live wire, her silence a fragile shield against his menace, and the audience's rage surged, desperate for her to be spared. The hall shifted as Elise took her seat in the diamond section, reserved for the elite.
Spurs sliced through the air like blades.
Wait, are they renting out diamond seats by the hour now? Sneered a boy in a tailored tuxedo, his cufflinks flashing. A girl nearby, her gown dripping with Swarovski crystals, leaned forward. She clearly snuck in. You can tell no one's here with her. Their voices carried, deliberate and cruel, drawing chuckles from nearby rows. Lisa's hands rested in her lap, her fingers still, her face serene. She'd heard worse over 4 years at St. Morel classmates mocking her thrift store clothes, professors questioning her fit for leadership. But today her graduation was supposed to be different. Natalie Harrington, daughter of a global fashion empire, sat 3 rows ahead, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. Her emerald gown, a $20,000 masterpiece. She turned, her blue eyes raking Elise from head to toe, and smirked. St. Morel really needs to reevaluate its scholarship standards, she said, loud enough for the entire section to hear. We can't have commoners ruining the visual harmony. Laughter rippled outward, heads turning to appraise Elise's plain dress. A boy nearby called out, "What's next?" inviting her mom to scrub the stage. The hall buzzed, the mockery a living thing feeding on Elise's silence. She didn't flinch, her hazel eyes fixed on the stage, but her fingers tightened briefly. A flicker of tension in her palm. Professor Dr. Evelyn Tate rose from the faculty row, her silk shawl slipping as she addressed the hall with a patronizing smile. Miss Carter's presence here is generous, but misguided, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. St. Morel is for those destined to lead, not those who serve. She gestured at Elise, her diamond ring flashing. Your academic success is commendable, but leadership requires pedigree, not charity. The crowd murmured approval, some clapping their elitism a wall around Elise. Perhaps a trade school would suit you better, Tate added, her words a deliberate cut. Elise's plaque rested in her lap, her hands steady, but her hazel eyes flickered with buried pain. Outside. Maria's hands clenched, the live stream capturing Tate's condescension. Her daughter's dreams mocked by those meant to uplift her. The audience's anger surged, their outrage at this betrayal by authority a burning wound. Natalie Harrington leaned forward, her emerald gown catching the chandelier's light, her voice a blade wrapped in silk. Look at her, thinking she can stand where we do, she said, loud enough for the live stream to catch every word. She stood, gesturing at Elise's dress, her manicured nails flashing. That rag belongs in a laundry bin, not St. Morel's stage. And those flats? I wouldn't wear them to walk my dog. The hall roared with laughter, students clapping, their glee a public execution. A boy shouted, "Send her back to the hospital to mop floors." Natalie's smile widened, her eyes locked on Elise. Your mother's a cleaner, and you're just her shadow, leeching off our prestige, she hissed, her words a deliberate wound. Elise's plaque trembled in her hands, her knuckles whitening, but her face remained serene, a fortress against the storm. The live stream outside showed Maria's face crumpling, the crowd's cruelty a knife to her heart, and the audience seethed, their anger a fire waiting to explode. The ceremony began, the dean's voice booming through the hall, praising the future leaders of the world. Lisa's name was called for the valedictorian award, her perfect GPA a beacon of her brilliance. As she rose, the whispers grew sharper. Her valedictorian? Muttered a girl in pearls. Must have cheated. Elise walked to the stage, her steps measured, her dress catching the chandelier's light. The applause was tepid, drowned by murmurs of disdain. She accepted her plaque, her smile small but unshaken, and returned to her seat, the weight of their judgment heavier than the award in her hands. A group of students near Elise's seat stood, led by Julian Pierce, a banking heir with a smirk as sharp as his tailored suit. Let's help her feel at home, he called, tossing a crumpled napkin at her feet. Pick it up, cleaner's kid, others joined, flicking straws and programs littering the floor around her. This is your level, Elise, Julian sneered, his voice carrying to the live stream. The crowd laughed, some shouting, "Sweep the stage next." The debris piled up, a humiliating frame around Elise's chair. She sat unmoved, her cotton dress a beacon of defiance, but her fingers gripped her plaque, her knuckles white, Maria's face on the live stream was a study in agony, each projectile a blow to her daughter's dignity. The audience's rage peaked, their hearts pounding. Desperate for this cruelty to end, for Elise to rise above the mob's savagery, Claire Voss, a media heir with a diamond choker gleaming at her throat, stood, her voice sharp and theatrical. "This is embarrassing for all of us," she declared, addressing the hall like a queen. "Elise thinks she can play valedictorian in that thrift store dress." Pointed at Elise, her bracelet jangling, her smile cruel. "You're a charity case who got lucky. You don't belong on our stage." The crowd erupted, students shouting, "Go back to the slums." "And she's ruining the aesthetic." Claire raised a hand, silencing them, her eyes boring into. "Elise, your mother's a nobody, and you're less than that," she said, her words slow and venomous. "Lee, before you make this worse," phones flashed, recording Elise's stillness, her cotton dress, a target for their scorn. Outside, Maria's hands clenched her phone. The live stream a window to her daughter's pain, and the audience's anger boiled, their hearts breaking for Elise's dignity. When the students' speeches were announced, Elise's name was meant to lead. She'd spent weeks crafting her address, a tribute to resilience, to her mother's sacrifices. As she stood, her heart steady, she moved toward the stage, the plaque still in her hand. But a coordinator, a wiry woman in a black blazer, stepped into her path, her clipboard raised like a barrier. "Sorry, you're not on the official list of speakers. Please step down," she said, her voice cold, amplified by the microphone pinned to her lapel. The hall went silent, every eye locking onto Elise. The coordinator's lips twitched, as if she enjoyed the moment. Elise paused, her breath catching, but her face remained composed. The coordinator, Miss Langley, stepped closer to Elise as she stood frozen on the stage, her clipboard raised like a weapon. "You heard me, Miss Carter," she said, her voice dripping with disdain, amplified by her microphone. "You're not speaking today? You're not one of us?" She turned to the crowd, her smile tight, inviting their approval. "We maintain standards at St. Morel, and this," she gestured at Elise's dress, "doesn't meet them." The hall laughed, the sound a tidal wave, students clapping as if it were a performance. "Maybe you can help your mother clean up." "After," Langley added, her words a deliberate stab. Elise's plaque trembled in her hands, her hazel eyes flickering with pain, but she didn't speak. The live stream outside showed Maria's face, tears streaming, the crowd's cruelty, public execution of her daughter's dreams. The audience's rage peaked, their hearts pounding, willing Elise to endure this final blow. Silence broke, whispers erupting like wildfire. "She's poor." Her mom's a janitor, hissed a boy in the front row, his voice carrying too. The live stream outside, sad but fitting, added a girl, her diamond bracelet glinting as she laughed. Natalie leaned back, her smirk widening, her fingers brushing her gown as if to dismiss the scene. She'd orchestrated this hour spent charming the event committee, ensuring Elise's name was erased from the speaker list. It was her final gift to the charity case who dared to outshine her. The hall's laughter grew, a chorus of scorn, each word a stone hurled at Elise's dignity. Outside, Maria clutched her phone, her face pale, the live stream showing her daughter's humiliation to the world. Elise stood still, her fingers trembling slightly around the plaque. The coordinator gestured toward the steps, her impatience sharp. "Move along, Miss Carter," she said, loud enough for the back rows to hear. The hall waited, hungry for Elise to crumble, to cry, to prove she didn't belong. But Elise didn't break. She lifted her chin, her hazel eyes sweeping the room, and spoke, her voice clear and steady, cutting through the noise like a blade. "Thank you for showing me who truly belongs here." The words were soft, but they carried a weight that silenced the whispers for a moment. Then she turned, her flat silent on the marble, and began to walk off the stage, her head high, her dignity a shield against their cruelty. As Elise began her descent, Natalie rose again, her emerald gown a spotlight of malice. "This is why we don't mix with the help," she declared, her voice a whip cracking through the hall. "Elise, you're a stain on St. Morel's legacy. Your mother's a failure, and you're her echo." She gestured at the live stream screen, knowing Maria was watching. "Go join her outside where you both belong." The crowd cheered, their applause a mockery of Elise's pain. Phones recording her every step. "No one wants you here," Natalie added, her smile venomous. Elise's flats whispered on the marble, her plaque clutched tight, her hazel eyes burning with silent resolve. Maria's sobs echoed through the live stream, the crowd's cruelty a public execution of her daughter's dreams. The audience's fury roared, their hearts breaking, willing Elise to endure this final crushing blow. The hall's mockery surged as she descended the steps. "Back to the slums," shouted a boy, his voice drowned by laughter. A girl tossed a crumpled program at Elise's feet, calling, "Pick it up, janitor's kid." The paper skidded across the floor, grazing Elise's flats, but she didn't pause. Her steps were even, her face serene, but the audience outside, Maria's audience, felt each insult like a physical blow. Maria's hands shook, tears streaking. Her face, but she didn't look away from the screen. Elise was her daughter, her pride, and they were tearing her apart for sport. The hall's laughter was a storm, relentless, each barb a wound no one could see, but everyone could feel. Natalie stood, her emerald gown shimmering, her voice ringing out. "Let's give her a round of applause for trying," she called, clapping slowly, mockingly. The hall joined in, the sound hollow, a parody of respect. "Maybe she can speak." "At the community college next," Natalie added, her smile venomous. The laughter swelled, phones flashing as students recorded Elise's exit. Their captions already forming, "Scholarship girl fails." Elise's silhouette shrank against the stage's glow, her cotton dress a stark contrast to the glittering crowd. She was alone, exposed, her moments stolen by those who'd never known a day of struggle. The audience's anger burned there, hearts with Elise, willing her to fight back. But the doors swung open, and the world stopped. Security parted the aisle, their black suits a stark line against the hall's opulence. Light poured in from behind, framing a figure in a gray suit and black tie. Noah Grayson, sole heir of Grayson Industries, stepped into the room. 24, he was a forestall, lean, dark, with dark hair swept back and eyes like carved steel, sharp enough to cut through lies. His presence was electric, commanding, the kind that silenced a room without a word. He'd built Grayson Industries' renewable energy arm into a $50 billion empire. His name whispered in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York. But to Elise, he was simply Noah, the man who'd fallen for her mind, her heart. Her quiet strength, Noah walked directly to Elise, his steps deliberate, his gaze locked on her. The hall held its breath, the laughter dying in throats. He reached out, his hand gentle but firm, stopping her mid-step. "You're not going anywhere," he said, his voice low but resonant, carrying to every corner of the hall. "This is a ceremony of honor, and you're the only one here who truly deserves it." Elise's eyes softened, a private smile touching her lips, but she said nothing, her silence louder than any speech. Noah's hand lingered on hers, his touch a promise, a shield against the room's venom. He turned to the event organizers, his steel eyes pinning the coordinator, who shrank under his gaze. "I've been the primary sponsor of St. Morel for 3 years, Noah said, his voice calm but unyielding. Which were to gavel strike. "Families' donations built this hall, funded your scholarships, kept your legacy alive. And I'm officially pulling all future funding, unless Elise Carter is invited back on that stage. Right now." The coordinator's clipboard trembled, her face paling. The dean, seated at the front, stood stammering, but Noah's gaze silenced him. The hall was a tomb, every guest frozen, their earlier bravado crumbling under Noah's authority. Noah's eyes shifted to Natalie, who sat rigid, her smirk gone, her hands clutching her gown. "Natalie Harrington," he said, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "You messaged me 27 times in the past 4 months begging for a meeting, a partnership, a chance at my family's table. Don't think I didn't know you were the one who tampered with the speaker list today." The room exploded, gasps, murmurs, heads whipping toward Natalie, her face flushed crimson, her eyes darting, searching for an escape that didn't exist. "You thought you could erase Elise's name?" Noah continued, his tone icy. "But You only erased your own credibility. Natalie's chair scraped as she stood, her voice trembling. That's not true, she cried. But the hall's eyes were on her now, judging, condemning. The coordinator whispered to the dean, who nodded, his face grim. Security moved toward Natalie, their steps heavy on the marble. Ms. Harrington, you're needed at the disciplinary board, one said, his tone final. Natalie's gown caught on her chair as she stumbled, her heels clicking in defeat. The hall watched, silent, as she was escorted out, her empire of influence. Collapsing with each step, Noah's voice rose, a commanding force that silenced the hall's murmurs. This wasn't just Natalie's doing, he said, his steel eyes sweeping the crowd, pinning the guilty. I have evidence, emails, texts, and witness statements showing a coordinated effort to erase Elise's name from the speaker list. He pulled the tablet from his suit, its screen glowing with data. Claire Voss, you bribed the event committee with $50,000 to adjust the roster. Ethan Caldwell, you spread rumors about Elise cheating to discredit her GPA, Ms. Langley. You knowingly enforced the tampered list for a promotion. The crowd gasped, heads turning to the accused, their faces paling. Grayson Industries is launching an investigation, and those involved will face legal consequences, Noah declared. Elise's honor is non-negotiable. The hall's silence was electric, the guilty shrinking under his gaze. And the audience cheered, their hearts soaring as justice took root. The dean, Dr. Harold Vance, stepped to the podium, his face ashen, his voice trembling under Noah's unyielding gaze. St. Morel has failed its brightest star, he said, his words broadcast to the live stream. Elise Carter's exclusion was a deliberate act, and we take full responsibility. He turned to the faculty, singling out Dr. Tate. Your remarks were unacceptable, and you're suspended pending review. He faced the students, his tone firm. Julian Pierce, Sophia Lael, your actions are under investigation for harassment. Expulsion is on the table. The crowd gasped, the accused shrinking in their seats, their arrogance crumbling. Miss Langley, your role in this sabotage ends your tenure here, Vance declared. The hall's silence was a reckoning, the live stream audience cheering as justice unfolded. Elise stood tall, her cotton dress glowing, her dignity a beacon. The audience's heart soared, the hall's transformation a testament to her triumph. Outside, the live stream captured her exit, the audience cheering for Elise's vindication. Elise walked back onto the stage, her cotton dress glowing under, the chandeliers, her plaque still in her hand. The hall was silent now, heads bowed, the earlier mockery replaced by shame. She stood at the podium, her hazel eyes sweeping the room, her voice clear and steady. This moment isn't mine alone, she said, her words soft but piercing. It's for my mother who taught me that hard work outshines wealth. For every student told they don't belong. The applause began, slow at first, then swelling, a tide of respect. Elise didn't bask in it. She didn't need to. Her silence had spoken. Her dignity had won. Elise took the podium, her presence a quiet storm that reshaped the hall. I stand here not for myself, but for every voice silenced by wealth, she said, her voice clear, resonating with unshakable strength. My mother taught me that honor isn't bought, it's earned. This scholarship in my name will ensure no student is judged for their roots. She raised her plaque, its gold a symbol of her victory, and faced the crowd. St. Morel will change, or it will fall. I choose change. The applause erupted, students and guests standing, their earlier scorn replaced by reverence. Noah's eyes shone with pride, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. Outside, Maria's face glowed on the live stream, the crowd chanting, Elise, Elise. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze, reflecting a legacy forged in truth. The audience's hearts thundered, Elise's words a clarion call. Her triumph a light that would burn forever. The ceremony continued, but the air had changed. Noah took a seat beside Elise, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of forever. The dean announced new honors. Maria Carter, Elise's mother, is named Inspiration of the Year, her name flashing on the live stream screen. Maria's tears turned to a smile, the crowd outside roaring with pride. Grayson Industries pledged a $10 million scholarship in Elise's name for students with leadership potential from low-income families. The hall applauded, but Elise's eyes were on Noah, her heart full, her victory complete. As Elise stood at the podium, the hall's silence was a canvas for her victory. "This stage isn't just for me," she said, her voice steady, resonating with a power that humbled the crowd. "It's for my mother, who worked nights to give me a chance. It's for every student told their dreams are too small." She raised her plaque, its gold catching the light, and continued. "Grayson Industries' scholarship in my name will open doors for others like me, and I'll ensure St. Morel never forgets what honor means." The applause thundered, students and guests rising, their earlier scorn replaced by awe. Noah stood beside her, his hand on hers, his pride a quiet fire. Outside, Maria's face glowed on the live stream, the crowd chanting Elise's name.
We lie I da why been by why da why one right why I'm late summer we why.
Hall's chandeliers seemed to shine brighter, reflecting a new legacy, one built on truth, not wealth. The audience's heart swelled, Elise's triumph a beacon of justice that would echo beyond these walls. As the ceremony ended, Noah and Elise stepped outside, the spring air cool against their skin. He knelt, a small velvet box in his hand, a diamond ring catching the sunlight. "Elise Carter," he said, his voice soft, meant only for her. "You're my home, my truth. Will you marry me?" Her smile was radiant, her nod immediate. Crowd outside erupted, Maria rushing to embrace them, her scrubs a badge of honor. Elise and Noah stood together, their hands entwined, their future a beacon of hope. Natalie's disciplinary hearing was swift expulsion for manipulating the honors list. Her family's name tarnished. The live stream trended globally. #Elise, rising flooding social media. Her story a testament to resilience. St. Morel's legacy shifted, its gates opening wider, its heart reshaped by a girl in a cotton dress. Elise didn't need diamonds. She was the light. Like, share, and subscribe to Thread Tales for more stories like this.